Hi YouTube, this is Sebastian with the Kuribrohs, and we are here with Top 32 at YCS Dusseldorf. This is, of course, Simon He.
Hi, how you doing?
So what did you play at this event?
I play Sky Striker again.
Right. Why did you choose to play Striker?
I think it's just super safe, and I personally think it has a decent matchup against Salamangreats. Like if both players are of equal quality, they're equal strength, then I think Striker wins against Salamangreat around like 60% of the time.
Yeah.
So, being that how cheap Salamangreat is to build, I think it's a good call for this event.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Anything else you'd like to say before we just get into the deck?
We can do it afterwards.
Yep.
We can do it after deck. Yeah.
Sure. Right.
I mean, it's pretty standard. The good thing about Striker is you can just adapt it to any formats at the moment. Striker is never really like a great call for a format, for a tournament, but it's like super safe if you play it well.
Understand.
So the standard 3-ray, 2 Veiler, and 3 Ash.
Okay.
I'll explain this ratio later. Some monsters. For the spells, 2 Shed Rides, Rota, 2 Terraforming, Metaphors, the Goods, Upstart, 3 Twin, Shot Cannon, 3 Multi-Roll, Burners, Drones, Jamming Wave, 3 Widow, 3 Area, 2 Eagle, 3 Engage, and for the traps, 2 Imperial Permanents.
Okay.
Infinite Permanents? Yeah, Infinite Permanents.
Right.
So, I think it's quite obvious that most of the core is really, really standard. The only thing that might change, depending on what tournament and what format it is this, and the hand traps, basically.
Yeah.
And going into this event, I wanted something that was good going first and second. I really wanted to play Solemn Strike, because it's just amazing in a mirror match. It's amazing against Salamangreat. If you strike their normal summon, there's not much they can do for the turn. But the issue is it's pretty bad if you're going second. It's almost like if they combo off, if you don't stop them with hand traps, and they have the trap, having a Solemn Strike in hand instead of something that can just bait out their plays is really, it's like a dead card. It's really bad. So I went with something that was like, this is okay going first. Going second is good. And the Veiler is for Danger Thunder, Saryuja, that kind of combo. And also Salamangreat is really good. The reason for the ratio of 2 and 2 is going back to whether I'm going first or second. I didn't want to put too much invested into going first or second. Like, I'm depending on a die roll, basically. So the ratio is because I personally don't want to open that many of these, like multiple of these. I didn't want to. There was an option to go 3 of this and 3 of this, but then that would be and just cut these. But that would make the turn 1 matchup like really, really bad. So I decided to go for 2-2. On the face of things, it seems like Infinite Permanence is just much better than Veiler. But there are a few things that Veiler is good at. For example, you can stop Denko. If you go first and they try to Denko OTK you can stop Denko and you can play through. You can have your back rolls. With Shared Ride, this was a bad choice. This was just a bad choice. It was not very good. I played 2 Sky Striker matchups, which is like a lot lower than I thought it'd be. I thought it'd be mostly Salamangreat, and this is okay versus Salamangreat if you go first. So it does stop them. It gives you more resources as well. Going second is pretty bad. So this was sided out a lot, especially going second, and any of the other matchups like combo decks, this is just not good in general. And if I had to go back, I think taking these 2 out for maybe a 3rd one of this, and I'm not sure about maybe even a Desires. The thing is, I was considering Desires at the beginning because if Salamangreat goes first and they set up everything, especially the counter trap, you kind of need that extra card to just push through the thing. But I kind of I kind of wussed out of that because like I always dislike desires to banish stuff, and without any way to get back into them, if I banish like 2 of these, it's really bad. If in theory, it's just really bad in general.
Extra deck then?
Yes. So this Salamangreat thing is for Super Poly only. This Super Poly for Funders. Standard. This is not as standard. Standard. Yeah, sort of standard by now. And these 2, Phoenix and Unicorn.
Yep.
So I went with 2 and 2 because for another event I actually went with 3 and 2. But because there's now at least 11 Link monsters, even without Hercules space, you don't really run through everything. So you never run out of Link monsters. And you don't need a third Hayate because usually the third Hayate, the first Hayate you go through is wasted away with Area 0. So you don't actually attack with it, you just use it as a buffer. But now you have this as a buffer. And so you always at least have 2 Hayates to attack with. Sometimes, however, if you're playing Thunder, for example, then you use this as a buffer. Because you need 2 of these, so if they set up their plays, this is very vital to surviving and stalling out the match so you have more turns. So this is absolutely vital, like you cannot run more, like less than 2. And like I said, this is just for Super Poly. This never came up. I never had like Super Poly against Salamangreat where it was useful. There was only one time I drew it and then I couldn't even play it.
Did you miss playing things like Bomber or Boral Sword?
Oh, there is a Boral Sword. There is a Boral Sword. Yeah, I borrowed it from someone.
Okay, fair enough.
That's absolutely mandatory.
Yeah.
Like,
Sure.
you cannot go with it. Bomber, I've never played Bomber.
Okay.
There's not enough space, I think, and there's never been a situation where I thought Bomber would be, I guess like sometimes in timeout, but if I can't make the Boral Sword. But it's very rare, so I never really missed it. And side deck is Ogre, Free Draw, 2 Pankra, 3 DD Crow. There can only be 1, 2 Heavy Storm Dusters, and Super Poly.
Okay.
So I think this is self-explanatory.
Yeah.
DD Crow, there's so many danger decks these days, like combo decks, Thunder and Orcust right now. So this is very useful against them. Ogre is for those 2 as well, but for the mirror match, I don't side much for the mirror match at all. I don't really have that many things to side in, and I have actually a fair bit to side out. So this was going to be either third Shared Ride or this, but like Shared Ride doesn't work for the other matchup, so I went with this. I didn't really have space for 2. This is pretty self-explanatory. This is for Salamangreat, and I guess like I even sided this in against Frogs going first. So yeah. On DD Crow for Salamangreat, Orcust, and Pankra, yeah. So I wanted to say something about Sky Striker because like it has a bad rep because like everyone knows how to play against it. Everyone's been like seen it for so long, and it is kind of not as creative and boring, but it's such a solid deck and it's still a very difficult deck to play well. And there are lots of plays that people make that they think is correct, but is like if you analyze it deeper, it's really not. I gave him an example, Luke over there today, and I was talking to him about the skills of being like a really good player, and I wrote an article about this in the past, and it's the standard deck building and actually playing correctly, and there's like preparation, and there's a fourth one which is relatively obscure and quite difficult to learn, and that's the psychology and mental part of the game, and that part is something that you can't really teach. You have to be quite experienced, and you have to know the format inside out, and you also have to sort of know what your opponent is thinking based on what you're doing. So a lot of these moves that you can't really figure out on the fly, and personally I have like a list of them that when I think of them I just write them down in situations that where you basically create an opportunity out of nothing. And I'll give you an example. like I said to Luke. The thing is, I can't say them all because like then they become useless.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like you can give deck profiles and people will know what you're playing, but they can still not play them correctly and well. But if you analyze it so deep, that there are so many infinite ways to play a different hand. So you have these three.
Yeah.
This is like a pretty typical amazing opening.
Yeah.
You ignore the other two cards. Just imagine they're nothing. So if I gave you this, and you don't know what your opponent is playing, you're going first. I'll turn it back on you. You just know you have generic information. For example, if they're playing roughly 50 cards, then they're probably playing some sort of danger deck. If they have like no extra deck, then they're probably playing True Draco. You have the normal information. So what would you do with these three cards if you're going first?
Theoretically, you want to Rhoda.
Sure.
Foolish Good. So Rhoda for A, Foolish Goods for Metal Fist Fusion, and then engage.
Okay. All right. Okay. So like if people did that, then I don't think anyone would say it's incorrect because that's what everyone does. But like there are sometimes, like I said, there are sometimes you can make opportunities out of situations where there seemingly aren't any. So something that I've been trying to do online and quite successfully in live play as well in tournaments is like if I know they don't play draw, because this thing, if they main draw, it's kind of bad. But like usually people don't main draw. So I set this, and then I play Rota. So what this does is it kind of incepts the thought into their head that I have a very average opening. So by setting these, this is probably like what they're thinking is probably like Widow Anchor or Twin Twisters or Eagle Booster or something. Maybe not Eagle Booster, probably Twin Twister. So if they think I have an average hand, they're probably going to ash this. And if I just start like this, they're not going to ash this. Well, it's unlikely. They're probably going to wait until this or until your Shizuku in the end phase. So by doing so, you can potentially bait out the ash. And because of that, you have this player, you have two engages that are live. But in the other scenario, if they do have ash, then they ash one of your engages, you get the other one through, but you don't end up with a big of a board or as much cards. So like a lot of people would, if they lose because of that ash or eventually lose because they didn't have the extra card, they won't have like the mindset to even think of like another opportunity of playing their hands differently. And they would just go on and thinking they played correctly, and they would sort of just make an excuse and say, oh, I was unlucky, he had ash, he had all the right cards. But it's usually not true. Like every single scenario, every single turn, every single move, there's an opportunity to do bluffs and play in a way that they can make a mistake. And this is something that I can't really do well unless I write them all down, like as I think, because I can't come up with these as I'm playing. There's too much pressure involving time. And in the moment, it's too hard to figure these things out. So, yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Right. Perfect. Well, thank you very much for the deck profile and the
You're
insight,
welcome.
and of course, congrats on your top.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Congrats.
Thank you.